But you brought up another kind of interesting topic there, which is the adaptive application, which my mind immediately goes to orchestration, cloud environments, and things like that. And of course, there's the most popular project in CNCF history, not quite, but the Kubernetes side that comes into play here. What are your thoughts around Kubernetes?
Oh, man, I love Kubernetes, right? It's, you always have to evaluate technologies, make sure it's the right tool for the job.
Yep.
And so I'm not saying don't use Kubernetes everywhere, but Kubernetes has a special place, and it provides a lot of amazing functionality, and especially for enterprises, right? Yep. Enterprises have a need to adjust so many different knobs, right? There's, performance characteristics, there's security characteristics, there's observability characteristics.
Yes.
Scalability characteristics, right? So there's so many knobs that you have to think about when you're designing an application for an enterprise and for a company that builds out a scalable application. Kubernetes provides many of those knobs for you, and so if you have those needs, Kubernetes is the perfect tool for the job.
So one of the things that you just said, though, Kubernetes is really, really powerful, but kind of as long as you know what you're doing.
Yes.
So is there some way that we can approach, a simpler starting point?
Yes.
We've got a lot of monoliths out there. How do we start?
Yes. So if we think about Kubernetes in general, right? Like if you're taking a monolithic application and you need to deploy it to Kubernetes, right? A lot of people will tell you like, hey, let's break it down first and then move to Kubernetes.
No.
There's a lot of complications with Kubernetes. There's a lot to learn on your journey already. And so I take a different stance here, and it's proven out well in some good examples that we can dig into. But the gist of it is take your current application, try to package it up in such a way that can just be put into Kubernetes, start measuring, going back to our observability side, making sure that it is starting to serve your needs, and then start splitting apart the monolith into different services and taking that approach.
One of my former companies, we talked about this cloud native journey, and it starts with the monolith. So the monolith, if you're doing this correctly, you don't want to go from monolith to cloud native in one fell swoop.
Yes.
Now, first of all, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you fix it, you will break it for this. So you do a lift and shift, okay? So take it from your infrastructure here to your infrastructure there, encapsulate it, be able to get the data around it while retaining the ability to control it.
Yes.
And that's the other thing people always forget is that you no longer own the infrastructure. You can't go look and see if the server lights are flashing.
Yes, absolutely.
For that. And then you start doing the refactoring, break out the larger pieces so that you can start moving around. And then, as needed, move to microservices.
Yes.
The other thing that's really obvious, even talking to people who are starting this, they think of microservices as small as possible, whereas microservices are small as necessary.
Yes.
So all of this has one major potential gotcha, and that's data communication and traffic.
Yes.
So, I'll flash back to a totally different project, Cloud Foundry. I remember doing an IoT project for Cloud Foundry and having the network ingress drive me up the freaking wall. So, how can we start helping people get that data in that way could work with?
Yeah, I think one of the key things when we think about Kubernetes, right? There's many different ways for data to be for the infrastructure to be configured for data to come inbound, right? But there's a handful of ways for it to be done well, right? And I think there's many different projects out there, NGINX being one of them, right? Like NGINX plus an Ingress controller provides some really solid foundation and a lot of best practices bundled together to help alleviate that pain for you. And then as you start expanding and you go from, hey, I have an application running in this cluster and now you need multiple clusters, there's a lot of other complexity there that it's non-trivial to get those environments to talk together and to handle that ingress.